Welcome everyone. This is August Inner Circle. I am really excited that you're here. I'm quite beat, honestly. We just had my boot camp this weekend and ended yesterday, and it was a really great 3-day event. And I know some of you have already submitted questions that were there, so that's awesome. If you have never attended one of my Inner Circle calls, I just want to kind of share with you how that goes. You have a panel, a GoToWebinar panel, where you have the ability to type in a question for me, and then that way I can answer it. Now, most of you have already sent in questions in advance, so I can answer those on this call, and you can hear other people's questions also and the answers to those. But if for some reason you need clarification or you want more additional detail or you have an additional question, feel free to use the GoToWebinar panel, and I will get to those, get to as many of those as I can. We do go 1 hour. And I have quite a few questions that have come to me, so I'll get through those first, and then we'll see if we have any additional time also. All right, let's see. When should you get out of the learning mode and into action? And well, this is a good question. This is kind of one of those, I kind of think of this as like the engineering type, you know, the engineer who analysis paralysis, and they never quite get out of, you know, analyzing things and into action. And I say that in kind of a stereotypical way because we think of engineers that way, but yet there are many engineers who will do something, they study something, and then when they figure it out, man, they go for it, and they're so good because they can systematize everything. But so that's why I want to clear that up first. But getting into action, I think that you should be taking action every single day. Of course, during the learning mode time, that might be, you know, listening to 5 CDs a day and absorbing as much content as you can. It depends, you know, how much time do you have and how badly do you need this? How badly do you want this? You know, if you are unemployed right now and you really need this, then I would say you need to start taking action very quickly, meaning listen to everything, try to absorb as much as you can, and get into action, whether that means calling sellers, sending out yellow letters, going out to see properties that are in the market, taking action. I can't remember the exact phrase. I think I've got it. It's relentless positive action. I think that's the right phrase that our governor of the state of Michigan used, and I absolutely love that. Relentless positive action. So in other words, always looking at taking action. I have more homes right now than I can handle, than my crews can handle, and yet it's a scarce time for most investors. And I think the reason that I do have more homes is because I do take action, and I go out every single week to look at properties. Unless for some reason I'm out of town or my friend Debbie that goes with me can't go. Otherwise, it's a weekly thing. Why? Because you've got to continue to market and fill up that pipeline of investment opportunities. So that's really important. I think taking action is so key, and I think that's the reason why a lot of people are not successful as investors, is that they don't take action. I mean, always taking action is so crucial to be successful in any kind of business. It's just so important. You know, like I have, I own a Keller Williams office too, that I have a lot of agents in that are very good, strong agents. Well, my top agents who, you know, earn more than $1.5 million a year, that's right, selling real estate, and the ones who, of course, who even earn over 300 grand, 500 grand, 800 grand. I have quite a few of those agents in my office. And this is the Detroit metro area, okay? So we're not talking, you know, Malibu beachfront or something like that, or downtown Manhattan. These are agents who are in the Detroit metropolitan area. So anyways, those people, they're always taking action. You know, whenever I go into their office, they're always like, oh, they've got lists, they're on the phone, they're giving instructions to someone in their office, they're out looking at properties, they're out making appointments, they're sending out cards, they're taking relentless positive action. So I think that's really important for any success. Do you search the title before you do a sandwich or cooperative lease option? I basically, for me, if I'm going to do a sandwich lease option, I do a full title search before I actually put someone in the property, but not before I sign with the seller. So in between that, as soon as I sign with the seller, then I'll go ahead and order some title work to make sure that the title doesn't have any surprises for me, which then would give me that out. If I'm doing a cooperative, I pretty much will just go through the public records and leave that up to my buyer to do their full title work and title search on the property. Please explain when I would want to use a subject to. Well, a subject to is when you take over when the seller will give you the deed to their home and there's still a mortgage underlying in that property. And when would you want to do that? When you want to take over that payment, when there's a reason that it's a good deal to take over that mortgage and to own that property for those underlying terms, for whatever that underlying balance is. For instance, if they owe $130,000, it's worth $150,000. That's a good start right there, right? You've got some equity right away from day one. The other thing is if they've got a really low interest rate and it's fixed for a long time period and the rental rates are higher than those mortgage payments because of that, that would be another good time when you might want to do a subject to, as long as the seller's willing to do that. But one thing I want to say about a subject to is just be really cautious. When you take the deed to a property, you need to make sure that you can afford that payment, that you're going to be able to afford that monthly mortgage payment. Don't take the deed if you cannot make that payment. It would be unfair to the seller to do that, because when some sellers give you the deed to their home or do a lease option, you know, they might be strong financially too. They're not always in trouble. Now they could be, but they're not always in trouble on a sub-2. And so you don't want to screw up any kind of credit of anyone's. That would be a very bad issue or bad situation to put the seller in. Okay, would you recommend a home warranty on a lease option? I think a home warranty is always a great solution for your sellers or for you as an investor on a property. If you've got a good home warranty company, I've got a company that I use. I don't know, they're not nationwide, but they're more than one state, and it's called America's Preferred Home Warranty. And the reason I like them is because the owner of that company, number one, is a very generous person who gives to a lot of charities, and number two is they allow the homeowner to pick their own contractor when they need to repair, which is kind of cool instead of sending someone else out. But it's not a bad idea, especially if your budget's really limited and you're taking on any maintenance responsibilities, which sometimes you might on a lease option. It's not a bad idea. Or the buyer could do that. They could do a home warranty on the property instead. So not a bad idea. How do I use the sandwich lease option when there is little or no equity in a property? Well, I wouldn't use the sandwich lease option when there's no equity or little equity in the property because when I do a sandwich lease option, that's really an investment for me. It's a property I'm investing in. It's longer term. I'm not just flipping it. I'm going to have care and nurturing and that in my portfolio for a while. So it's got to have some equity because otherwise there's nothing for me to get as far as profit other than cash flow. So I do need a seller to have some equity in an option or in a property, because that way I can get option credits from the owner, or I can use the mortgage buy down philosophy that I teach in my seminars on that particular deal. That would help me a lot. Will options work on vacation or resort waterfront properties? Absolutely. You can certainly do options on any kind of property, including vacant land, commercial, multifamily. My first apartment building we did a lease option on. It was 42 units. That was really cool. But you can do them on vacation and waterfront homes if they make sense. So in other words, if the terms make sense for you. It also might be a great way for you to buy a waterfront or vacation home for yourself, to buy it on an option and not have to go out and get a mortgage for that property. So that might be one of the times that you would actually, use it that way. All right, there's a couple of you who have dropped in some questions. Let's see. Okay, Al said, when doing a sandwich lease option, have you ever gotten a deed from the seller at the beginning of the transaction to be held in escrow? Yes, you absolutely could do that, meaning your title company, sometimes an attorney will hold that deed for you, so it makes the owner feel as if they've sold the home. So in there, it doesn't do anything to protect you, because the only thing that does anything is if it's recorded. But if you're holding that deed until if you're holding that deed until the transaction closes, it can still give that seller some kind of sense of, I've sold that property and it's gone and they can't do anything with it. So that would be the main reason. It's not because it protects you, because you can't go record it anyways until you've paid them off in cash. Let's see, here's another one. How do you make money on a rent-to-own property that is selling for $2 million? Sam, you can easily do that depending on your area. The higher-end homes you can do options on, but personally, I wouldn't do a sandwich lease option on one unless you have a lot of money to back you up on that deal. Because if that tenant buyer doesn't pay and you've got to make those payments, they're going to be expensive. I would consider doing a cooperative or link options transaction on one of those, where you just flip it to an end buyer, especially if you have buyers in your area that might be looking for $2 million type properties. You certainly can do that. Sam says, I cannot hear you. Oh, okay. Well, can you hear me now? I'm gonna type something. Turn on your speakers. I'm assuming everyone else can hear me. But anyways, I'll close it off. Okay. Let's see. Okay, those are the questions that came in so far. Oh, by the way, if you're just joining me, there is a question box in the GoToWebinar where you can write questions down or follow up questions or statements to whatever I'm sharing with you. I'm reading the questions that came to me from emails. Also, just so you know, I always record these sessions, so you will get a recording by being in my inner circle. It will be put back into your inner circle area, your membership area. It'll take maybe a day or two, but you will have it in there because we are recording this call, okay? When talking about lease options, it is all about the terms, but how does one get cash back at closing? Well, basically on a lease option, when I'm buying it from an owner, I might buy it, say, this is just totally an example. I'm going to buy it for, say, like $150,000, and maybe I'll pay $900 a month. But when I sell it to the end buyer, it's going to be maybe $175,000 as just an example, and rent it for $1,100 a month. So I'm going to get $200 a month cash flow. But when the property closes, when the buyer's ready to get their mortgage and cash me out, there's a spread there of $25,000. I will be entitled to that spread less any other credits or option fees that I've already received, or credits that I need to give to the tenant buyer. So that's how you get money at closing. It comes on the back end when you pay the seller off for their smaller amount than what you're receiving from your buyer, which is a higher amount. What should I do and what things should I have in place before I start calling sellers and finding buyers? It seems that I should have buyer-seller contracts reviewed by a lawyer, determine my business name, set up an escrow account, possibly some other things before I'm ready to contact sellers and buyers. What else would you suggest? Well, that's a lot of kind of questions all in one, so we're going to kind of start at the beginning. What should I do and what things should I have in place before I start calling sellers and finding buyers? Well, personally, it depends. Again, kind of going back to that first question, do you want to take action? Start taking action. You can go ahead and start making calls right away. I mean, if a seller says yes, they're interested, tell them, okay, great. I want to give you a call back when I can set up a time to see it, okay? And get off the phone, okay? But get some action, positive action going where you get those yeses. So it should not prevent you from making calls to sellers. Now, finding buyers, don't worry about buyers right now. In today's market, right now, buyers are a dime a dozen. You will find a million buyers once you have a property locked up with a seller. So right now, a seller should be your main focus, okay? It seems that I should have buyer and seller contracts reviewed by my lawyer. I'd recommend it always. I use Legal Shield. You can go to gotlegalplans.com, G-O-T, legalplans with an S.com. I always recommend it. If you sign up for Legal Shield, it's like $26 a month in most states. Some states are a little bit less than that, but they might offer a little bit different type of services. But they will review your contracts at no extra cost. So you can have them go ahead and review those and give you feedback for your state. I will warn you though, that the cooperative option agreements, in many states, they're going to say that it requires a real estate license to do those transactions. And you might be in one of those states where if you're flipping contracts at all, has nothing to do with options, you might be required to have a real estate license, which is a whole nother thing. If you do need a real estate license in your state, or you want to get one anyways, email me privately, and I will talk to you about how to get a real estate license in your area. You can email me at wendy@wendypatent.com. All right. So do I need to have, I should have the contract reviewed? Yeah, that's always good. Determine my business name. It depends. Sure, you can have a business name, but in some states, like California, for instance, it's very expensive to set up an LLC. If you don't have a lot of money right now and you don't have a lot of assets to protect with an LLC, I'm not going to try to give any legal advice here, so I'm going to say that right now on the record, but you don't really have a lot to protect. So you might want to just put it under your name right now, and later when you do a few deals and you have some cash, then you can always move it to your business name, especially if it's expensive to set up. Now in Michigan, where I live, it's like $50. So it's no big deal to set up an LLC. It's really inexpensive. And Legal Shield, a service I told you about before, would be able to tell you, how to set that up in any state and what's involved in the cost. Because there's cost to the state for the name, and then there's also cost for an attorney to draft the operating agreement. If you want to try Legal Shield and you sign up for it, just email me, and I'll be happy to email you my operating agreement absolutely free, which will save you about $300 to $500, okay? Just email me and tell me you signed up for it and with your receipt or whatever, okay? Set up an escrow account. I don't think that's important at all, and what that would be for is to hold the option fee for free joint cooperative options, because you can usually just talk to a title company, see if they're willing to do it, an attorney, depending if you're an attorney state, or you can now not real estate agents, and I know Washington's one of them, Illinois is another one of them, but anyways, I'm not sure if Washington is actually, I know Illinois is for sure, but anyways, go to that, get that little ebook, you can click on that link, it will tell you what you need to do for Washington to do that, and if you're interested in getting your license, feel free to email me, and I will tell me what city you're in and your phone number, and I will try to find a good office for you locally. Of course, I'm very much a proponent of Keller Williams. I'd love you to be part of my team if you do that. But anyway, so email me and I'll show you how we can do that together. Okay? Is there any conflict of interest in being lease options and being an investor? Not at all. I do both, and I don't feel there's any conflict whatsoever in doing that. Oh, my audio cut out, hon, and it's back now. Okay, well, I'm glad. Hopefully, is it good right now, Robert? It sounds okay? Let me know that. Hold on, I'm texting my web guy to see what he says. Okay, let's see. You mentioned in one of your videos that you assign an LLC for each property you purchase. Do you form and pay for an LLC for each property each time you purchase? Then after you purchase a property, if it is one you decide to hold, do you transfer to the second LLC? Okay, I do not create an LLC for each property I purchase unless my intention is to flip that property to an investor, like wholesaling it, and Fannie Mae might not allow me to transfer it without changing the name. Totally different kind of investing strategy. For an option, no, I do not set up an LLC. For each part, it says you mentioned in one of your videos that you sign an LLC. No, I do not sign one. I don't know what video you're talking about. I do not create a LLC for every property except the ones I'm going to, you might be talking about my cash flow deals that I do sell to other investors. That's possible. Yes. Do you form and pay for an LLC each time? No. Like for all my options, I put them under one company, and then I have several other companies that sometimes they're partners with one person, or with my husband, or by myself, and those the properties go into each of those categories based on how it was found, or which company has the money to buy it, that type of thing. Do you transfer? No. No, normally I don't do whatever the bottom one says now. You suggested joining an investment group. I've looked online in the yellow pages for such an investment group locally. While I am certain that there is one, I have not been able to locate one. Do you have some suggestions as what to look for and how to find one? Go to LinkedIn. Go to Meetup, and you can check out search real estate investment groups, and go to Google. I run Michigan Real Estate Investors in Michigan, and there are other groups around the country similar, that if you just Google, whichever city that you're in. If you're on the call today too, feel free to put the name of your state and city in, and I will be able to tell you if I even know of a group there, because I've spoken at most of the groups around the country. Okay, let's see. One of the questions was, do you have your own escrow company, as Keith and Shannon French say, to deposit and disperse tenant buyer funds? Yeah, I actually have my own escrow company because I have a real estate brokerage, so I already have an escrow set up. I don't need to, and I could also get, I also have a, hold on, some of you just lost audio. Okay. And some of you might have that ability already with a relationship with the title company where you can use that. So hopefully that answers that. Will Legal Shield be able to help me if I need a real estate license in New York to be able to do lease options? Two different things. Legal Shield is just an attorney firm where you can call and get legal advice or review documents, get an attorney's perspective on things. Getting a real estate license has nothing to do with Legal Shield at all. If you go to that website I mentioned, the becomingarealestateagent.net, you will be able to see what those requirements are for New York, and you can email me, wendy@wendypatton.com, and I will be able to help you. Now, these are questions that are coming through your box. Let's see. Okay. Okay, good. Okay, sound is back. Good. Okay, whoa, that was crazy, losing the sound for a while there. Okay, I'm a realtor in California. If someone needs some help with their transactions. Oh, okay. Thanks, Sharon. Do you feel it is necessary to use an escrow company to do cooperative lease options? I don't think it's necessary at all. I think it's just a smart way that Keith and Shannon do, and I like that. But most of the time, mine just write it directly to, to my company. Or one of the things I like right now that I think is pretty good is to have the, here's an idea, to have the buyer, because it's going to be, if you're flipping this is for cooperative only, not sandwich, okay? But if you're flipping it right to the end buyer, right to the end seller, and you're stepping out of the way, have the buyer write the check to the owner, but give it to you, and then you have the owner endorse it over to you. So that way, their paper trail is very easy to follow for their lender later, where that check is written to the owner directly, and it's easy to see that. That transfer. But you can certainly talk to a lender in your area, because lending requirements are changing all the time. I just found out a couple of days ago that there's potentially this new ruling for FHA that buyers might only need 12 months of seasoning in order to be able to get a mortgage now if they had a 20% decline in their income and that type of thing. So that's kind of cool. That I think is really, really good. Okay, let's see. Hold on, I'm looking to see if there's more questions. Oops. Okay. Oh, sorry, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay. All right, there we go. I had a real estate agent provide listings to me for homes that have been on the market for greater than 90 days. Great. If I contact the listing agent and actually get a deal from one of these, how do I compensate both the real estate agent that gave me the listing and the listing agent? Would I compensate them differently if it was a sandwich versus cooperative link option? Well, typically I only go to real estate agents for sandwich lease options. I don't do any cooperative options because I'm a realtor. It looks kind of weird me taking a commission and a wholesale fee. So I don't go to real estate agents. I believe Keith and Shannon do pay both of them a portion of the commission up front. And if I'm doing a sandwich lease option, I'll give the listing agent 1% up front. That's up to you with what you pay the person who gave you the listings. If they're going, they might write it up and get 3% later. It just kind of depends on each transaction and your relationship with the owner or that agent. You might be able to offer the agent, you know, $50 for everything you do, or $50 every time they run listings, or, you know, $1,000 when you buy a deal. My PowerPoint is minimized. It is? Is that better? Okay, can you see it now? Wow, some technical difficulties, very much of a pain. So it's all up to you with what you're going to do. Tell me if that's better, Robert. Is that right? Is that better? Hopefully you guys can see it. Nothing like technical fun difficulties. Is that better right now? It keeps flicking on me though. Is that better now? Okay, I'll carry on here. So you might want to give that other agent something for bringing you that deal. I mean, I don't know what it is. You need to work that out with them up front and do that on the honor system. If you want to go directly to the listing agent and them do it all, or if you want your buyer's agent to write it up, then you're going to have two people that you do need to figure that out with up front. Yeah, and if you don't compensate them, oh, you're going to, okay, if I didn't compensate the listing agent, what would their incentive be to work for me in the future? I always compensate the listing agent. And remember, if I give them 1% of the purchase price or 2% or 3%, that money's coming to me from my buyer. I'm still getting it back so I can get into that deal for little or no money down. The other thing is, even if I compensate them now, if there's still money commission due later, they're going to get the rest of it later. The other thing is that commission that I'm paying up front is really, I'm just fronting it for the owner. It's really going to be a charge to them later and a credit to me because I'm the buyer and I'm not supposed to be paying commission. If I don't have access to the MLS to run comps, what other methods are available to get comps? Let me know, Robert, if you can hear it and see my slide now. Still can't see it. What do you mean you still can't see it? Can everyone else see my slide? What can you see then? Please text me and tell me what you can see. I'll read it then. I don't know. It's showing my slide. Let's see. Oh, maybe, was it like that? Maybe it wasn't showing it. Is that better? Ah, that should be better. Hold on, I'm still here. I'm just looking. Oh, okay, there. Okay, good. Okay, sorry about that. Is that better now? Okay, sorry guys. I must have done that myself. Okay. If I don't have access to the MLS to run comps, what other methods are available to get comps? Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, etc. And which methods will be the most accurate if I can't get the comps from the MLS? It just depends on your area. I actually think Trulia and Zillow are getting, I mean, pretty decent about showing comps. As long as realtors do report it and it shows through your area on those maps, then yes, those work, at least to start with. That's a good start. The best comps, though, are having a realtor run them from the MLS. Those are always going to be the best ones. I was confused at the boot camp regarding how a sandwich lease option deal is finally completed, i.e. closed. I think it was stated that double closings are no longer allowed and that some seasoning may be required. If I do not have the money to buy the house several months prior to when my tenant buyer is going to buy the house, how do we actually get to close with the tenant buyer? Well, there's a couple things that you can do. And this is only if seasoning is required, meaning that you need to be on that title for more than 90 days or 60 days or whatever. If so, there's some other things that can happen. For instance, at the very end, you can switch the paperwork from the tenant buyer to you right back to the owner. So redraft a new agreement. Instead of you being in the middle, go right from the seller to the buyer, and then you put a lien on the property for the part that's going to be your profit. Now, of course, this all involves this involves everyone. But of course, the seller should want to sell, the buyer wants to buy, and they know you're going to be making a profit. So you can protect yourself that way. That's one of the ways we discussed at the boot camp. Another way was that 3 months prior, the seller can put you on the title or change it to a trust where, they're the beneficial interest 3 months before, and then they change you later to the beneficial interest so you can do it. So hopefully that gives you a couple of ideas if you need to be on title beforehand. Or they could put you just on the title if they trust you before that to show that you're on title. The other thing is, if they let you do it the same day and you have to do a double closing, one closing right after the other, and you don't have money, you can use what's called transactional funding. And you can Google it. I'm sure there's a million transactional funders out there. If you're not familiar with them, you want to know if someone's good, let me know, but they're all about the same. They're going to charge you about 2% to do the deal, and that's just to have their money for about 48 hours. It's not bad money for them to have for 48 hours, but they're going to wire it to the title company or the attorneys doing the closing. They're going to make sure it closes, that they're going to actually get that money, and they'll get like 2%, sometimes a $400 processing fee or something like that. So just check around. I do not presently have an LLC, which I believe is pretty expensive to set up in New York. I believe one of the suggestions has been to see if a title company would allow me to use their escrow account. But I have never dealt with a title company. All of my closings have been handled by lawyers. Okay, great. That's because in New York, you're an attorney state. That's who would hold the escrow. In some states, title companies do closings. In other states, attorneys do closings. So you're either a title or an attorney state, and you're an attorney state. They just do the closings instead there. So just talk to them about doing it. What is the quickest way for me to set up an escrow account? Talk to your attorney to see if they have it, if they would do that for you. Or, like I suggested in the beginning, see about setting up a bank account that has the word escrow in there. I'm trying to do this business remotely. How do I present to a seller if I am not in the same state? You could do via email them, or Skype with them. Whatever works for you. Most contracts seem to be done by sellers online, and you can either use a DocuSign type of service. I know Keith and Shannon, I forgot which one they said they used, but Google around and get some price differences of DocuSign itself is much more expensive, but that type of service. And I'm sure someone else is using those phrases, DocuSign, to drive traffic to their website. So even though they're not the DocuSign company, they know people search the word DocuSign because it's kind of known, like aspirin versus bear, and they might get to their website for that. I won't be able to make an appointment to see the property, so what other ways could I present the program? You might not really, if you're doing a cooperative option, you don't need to get to the home. Get some pictures from the owner, get a video if they've got it. They probably have all of that. That's all you really need. Make sure on Zillow or Trulia or MLS that it's reasonable for the price, and get your contract signed via online and get it up on a website somewhere or Craigslist or both and start promoting it. It's really, I don't want you to make it more complex than it really is. Do you have any suggestions for a business name? What keywords should I include my business name? Should my business name include my city or region that I do business in? I don't have any of mine that include the city or region, just because I don't want to limit its usage later in case I expand out of that city but still in that state. So I don't do that. But if you've got all of your properties, say, in Detroit, I could say Detroit Properties LLC if that was available, if that name was available. Do you have any suggestions for a business name? Just one thing I would say is don't use the word realty in it because it sounds like it's a real estate firm with a brokerage, so I'd be cautious on that. But it could be anything. It could be like affordable homes, Washington State Affordable Homes, Washington, rent-to-own properties, in Metro Detroit. It could have, I guess it could have that area then. I used to have Emerald Properties, and sapphire properties and, different ones like that. I mean, whatever you want it to be called is up to you. I'm building systems around my lease option business that will allow me to do deals in other markets. One of many keys to making this work is to set up a third-party escrow account for earnest money and option money from tenant buyers. Do you have any recommendations for how to go about doing this? Let's see. Okay, I think we've been talking about that. Oh, this is a different type of escrow. This is an escrow, a third party that will allow the tenant buyer to pay into the escrow each month and then to pay that mortgage from there. Oh, wait, no, wait, for earnest money. Oh, no. I think we've covered this one. Wow, we had a lot of escrows tonight on this particular call. So I think I've talked a little bit about that. Previously, I had some success with short sales and subject twos. I stopped, and now I can't seem to get started again and need to understand how to manage my time. Do I start off my morning by calling FSBOs? Do I call realtors or target list pendants first? What do you think is the best way to start the day? Well, if you had some success with short sales before, what did you do? Go back to the basics. What did you do? I mean, for me, I buy a lot of short sales, but I typically buy my short sales on the market or through yellow letter campaigns. I target areas where they might be a month behind and try to buy them that way. Subject to is the same thing. Are you tired of monthly payments? We can help. Or we buy homes for cash. Those are great headlines to use to get sellers. Also, start letting people know what you do. Let realtors know you buy short sales. They're not going to be keen on subject twos because they're going to be asking their seller to sign over the deed to the property, and that's probably not going to go over as well. Okay, do I start off the morning? Let me just go back to this. Okay, do I start off my morning calling FSBOs? You could. Or I think you start off your morning doing some action like that. So that's certainly one thing that you could do in the morning. Do I call realtors or target? Yeah, sure. Realtors are not going to be receptive to subject twos. I'm going to tell you that right now. So if that's one of your big deals, then I wouldn't do that. For short sales, I would. But start finding some people that really specialize in short sales, and they'll probably have quite a few of them, and see if you can talk to them about, buying some of their short sales. What do you think the best way is to start the day? I'll tell you what, I start my day, and, I don't know if this will help you or not, but I start my day every morning, but first, of course, saying good morning to my husband, right? Then I make some coffee, and I sit down on my computer, and I open up my computer, and I read my emails, and I clean up all my emails. And one of the things that's in my email every single morning are the leads from my MLS searches of new properties that are coming up in my areas and in the criteria that I set up. So that's one of the first things I do. And anything that's in there that looks good, I set up an appointment for it immediately to go see that property during the day. So hopefully that helps you out. All right, so that's the end of the questions that you guys sent in. Let me see what you've got that you've put on the question boxes. You're welcome to enter questions in the question boxes, and I'll answer some additional questions. Are you going to be near California anytime soon with the Frenches for a class? Yeah, well, our next boot camp is going to be in Phoenix. At least I think it's going to be in Phoenix. It might be in Orlando, but I'm kind of leaning toward Phoenix for February. So just so you know, that's kind of what we're planning. Okay. Anyone else? Let's see. Okay. Here's a good one from Larry. I spoke to an attorney today. He said I can't use his escrow account unless I am his client on a transaction. Well, I can understand that. Why not use the attorney to close the transaction or to be the witness during that lease option signing? You could do that and see what they would charge you to do that on every single one of your transaction deals. Don't forget too, if you want to add in additional questions, feel free to type them in that question box, and I'll answer some additional questions. Those are the only ones that have come in so far, you guys. So feel free to send me some additional ones. Let's see, I think there's a few more. Okay. Oh, here's one. Let's see. I'm not a real estate agent. If I'm trying to do a lease option with a listed property, what is the best way to present the offer since I usually don't get to interface with the seller? I would just let the agent know what it is that you're going to offer. You're going to have to see it with the agent anyway, so you should be discussing that while you're walking through the house or when you're meeting them for a cup of coffee. You should be able to have that discussion with them and let them present it to the owner. I always let the agent know, though, hey, I'm willing to meet with you and your client to discuss this deal, and any type of questions your client might have, I'd be thrilled to talk to them about it with you, or answer those questions. Or if you want to do a three-way call, feel free to call me anytime with your client. Just let me know how I can help you with this transaction. So always be willing to do that, okay? Okay, that's another one. Sam said, how good is Legal Shield? Well, Legal Shield, I don't know what state you're in, Sam, but I think it's a phenomenal service. It is not perfect, though, okay? And it's $26 a month. It's not going to do everything for you. If you expect it to do everything, you're crazy to think it's going to do everything for $26 a month. But the things that it does are phenomenal. Writing letters on your behalf, talking to you through legal situations with you. I just had them review a contract for my Keller Williams office today, and walked through a lease amendment. And they were telling me, some of the things I needed to look for and what their concerns were, and that there was nothing unusual in there. And that's what I used it for today. That alone would have cost me, I'm sure, $200 or $300 for our attorney for our firm to be able to handle. And yet it didn't cost me anything to make that phone call today. So that's pretty cool. I highly recommend it. Let's see if I can. I'm going to do this. I'm going to send you. I'll send, there's the website for it. I sent it, hopefully I sent that to everyone. I don't know if you guys got that in the little question box. Okay, will the listing agent be willing to share comps with me? Larry, the listing agent should be willing to share comps with you unless for some reason they don't have any that are legit. They must have shared some comps with the owner when they met with them to list their property. So they've got to have comps that they would be willing to share. Absolutely. Oops. Okay, any other questions? Feel free to ask any questions. It doesn't have to be regarding lease options. It could be regarding short sales or bank-owned or rehabbing properties. I think right now is a really great time to buy properties, and I think flipping them right now is a really good thing too. The market's still fairly hot in most areas of the country, and just don't, if it keeps going up, I do want to warn you right now to be very cautious, to kind of hold back, wait and observe, and hold some cash, because what goes up too fast must come down, right? So think about that when you start seeing deals that, or property values that are starting to go a little too crazy. And I'm starting to see a little bit of that in my market, so I'm a little bit cautious right now. I'm just making sure I'm sticking to my numbers of what I know things have sold for in the last year versus, how crazy it's going right now with bidding wars and scarce inventory and that type of thing. There is a new, I don't know if I told you this in the beginning, I think I did, but there's this new FHA ruling that came out last week that is going to allow your tenant buyers to get into mortgages in 12 months if they can show that they had a 20% pay reduction, and that's why they went through a foreclosure, a bankruptcy, or a short sale, any of those items, or deed in lieu. All four of those items would be only a 12-month seasoning after that event to be able to get a new FHA mortgage, which is quite phenomenal. We haven't had any loosening up of mortgage standards in quite a while now, so it's kind of nice to get that loosening up right now. All right, so if that's it, if there are no other questions, then I'll end the call unless you guys want to ask any additional questions. Anyone else asking any questions? You're welcome to ask any questions. All you got to do is type them in that box, and I'll be happy to answer those for you. All right. Well, thank you guys very much for being on the call tonight, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. I really, really appreciate that you guys. Okay, thanks, Sharon. Yeah, she said Phoenix will be great in February. Good. Make sure that if you are interested in the boot camp, if you have never been, that you let my office know, and we'll keep you informed as it gets closer, and as soon as we have those dates, we'll definitely let you know. Ray, thank you so much for saying thanks too. Appreciate it. Have a great night, guys. Appreciate it. Bye-bye.
The organizer has ended the